Hey y'all, Mike with Cardboard Kingdom. Welcome back to another Disney Lorcana video. Today we are going to be taking a look at the most expensive cards in Disney Lorcana. Take a look at how they've been performing, kind of what variants they're selling in over the last couple months. And really we're doing this because we have seen obviously that significant retracement in the set cards, right? So think of like your Elsa from Chapter 1, Cinderella from Chapter 2, you name it. Any enchanted card that's came out thus far or alt art has seen up to a 50%, if not more, retracement from their all-time highs. Obviously, a lot of people see that. They don't really understand how these cycles work, and they begin to just kind of low list their cards to get out of the market. And I think that showing people what the top cards are going for will help ease concerns on that. If you are staring at a couple enchanteds and you're worried about the price going down and you feel like the bottom's falling out from under you, my advice right now would definitely be to hold. I don't think that it's a seller's market by any means. I definitely think it's a buyer's market. But if you're, look, if you have to sell, you have to sell. It is what it is. I'm never going to tell you to not sell. If you need the money, go get it. With that being said, I do want to take a look at the top cards because I think that gives us a good range of what to maybe expect with these lower end cards coming here in the future. So, with that being said, first and foremost, the most expensive card in Lorcana right now is the Golden Serialized Mickey. The most recent auction ended at $15,860 all in with the buyer's premium. So this is down from a high of $40,000 that we saw was the first original sale of this card. Now down significantly from that point, and most likely will continue to go down. We've seen every auction thus far go lower and lower. I don't think that that's a surprise, and I don't expect it to stop. These cards are unfortunately not as rare as we had hoped whenever they first announced these trophy cards, with all of these cards being the same in terms of the top 8 or top 4 depending on size, but there being 500 of them, they just become a lot less rare than maybe we had originally prognosticated, and so that's why you can continue to see these prices go down. Right now, the most accurate price point is 15,800, almost 16,000. I think when it's all said and done, this card's going to be somewhere in the $5,000 to $10,000 range if I had to price it out. Definitely would not be buying this card right now. I think it's definitely a sell. If you're lucky enough to win one of the tournaments, place in the top 8, and get a Golden Mickey, I would absolutely get that thing graded. Get in the PSA 10, which all of them have graded thus far. Or Beckett 10, CGC Pristine 10. Every one of these cards is getting the highest graded a company can give other than Beckett. There's been no black label Beckett 10s. That would probably be the route. Try and get a black label 10 because that might get some like crazy 50,000 plus number in terms of finding a Disney collector who's got that kind of money. Get a black label on it. That would definitely be if I were to advise someone who wanted Golden Mickey, I would definitely send it to Beckett. Try and get the gold label or black label 10. If not, at least get a gold label and then throw it to auction. This card is, if you want to sell it. Obviously, if you want to hold on to it, it's a huge accomplishment. That would be a smart play as well. But in the short term, this card is going to be going down in value, and so that's why I would send it to auction and see what you can get for it. With that being said, moving away from the Mickey, I did want to hop into some of the D23 cards, and then we'll take a look at some of the other trophy cards. For the Elsa, the D23 Elsa, the first edition Elsa, one of the first cards in Disney Lorcana ever. The most recent sale was on July 1st for $7,150. It's important to note, guys, that as we're looking at this, this site 130point.com checks all of the auction sites. So it's looking at eBay, it's looking at Golden, it's looking at PWCC, it's looking at Heritage or Fanatics Collect now for PWCC. But it's looking at all these sites, aggregating the data, and then putting it in here. Now, you'll see that most of the sales are on eBay. I do recommend that you sell your cards on eBay because that is where the most eyes are looking right now, especially for Lorcana. There are some cards within, like Pokemon, that have certain niches where it makes sense to send to a PWCC or possibly a Golden. With that being said, even in those cases, eBay is really the best place to sell right now. Even with, a couple more percentage in fees, the ability to ship internationally through the verification service, and the idea that there's just the most eyes there. It just makes a lot of sense. So that's why I would recommend selling your cards. You're going to see a lot of those on eBay. Looks like all of the sales on the first page are eBay here. When we look back At the D23 Elsa back in May, late May, this card was selling for around 6,100. It then sold for 6,600. Dipped back down to 65, 62, then jumped up to 7.1 is the most recent sale. So somewhere between like 6 to 7,000, I would say, is an acceptable range for that particular card, and that would definitely put it as one of the most expensive cards in Lorcana. Right now, the pop report on this card is around 300, so there's definitely not a lot of them out there, right? And when you think about Elsa being the chase from the first chapter, this card has a lot of provenance going for it. That first edition stamp should not be understated. This is truly the Grail collector's piece within Lorcana. Now, if you're like me, I've said many times that I can't stomach spending $7,000 on a card that someone got the entire collector's box for $49 like a year and a half ago. That kills me inside. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean it's a bad investment. This is, if there's ever going to be like a first edition Charizard level card in Lorcana, it's probably the first edition Elsa, and that's why it's going for, $7,000 right now. So that is what you can expect for the Elsa. Now, moving over to the second most expensive card, third, there's some of these are in a pretty similar range. The Stitch, the D23 Stitch. Stitch is one of the best characters thus far, in my opinion. He's got the D23 Stitch. He's got Carefree Surfer Stitch. He's got Rockstar Stitch. Stitch is knocking it out of the park. Love Stitch. Shout out Stitch. You can see that this card was going kind of right below 2,000 to low 2000s, so 1825, right at 2000, 2151, 2125, 2000, 2000, 2300, and then most recently 2600, and that was on the 2nd of July. So something to keep in mind here, guys, is the Elsa, her highest sale was the most recent one. Stitch's highest sale is the most recent one. Both of those sales coming early July. When we hop over to the Captain Hook here, we scroll down a little bit, you'll see 1250, 1400, 1280, 1500, kind of that 1200 to $1,500 range. Most recent sale, 1750 on July 2nd. So there's a very good chance that someone in July went through and bought all the buy it now PSA 10 listings for these cards, because you'll see a lot of the dates are the same for the sold dates on these cards, and they are all at new record highs in terms of buy it now, or for the most part, like up at least on an upward trend. Now, Maleficent is one that did sell for 3,000 back in early May 5th. Before that, the lowest sale, or the most recent sale, was 2226. So this person kind of set a new record with almost $800 up. It kind of dropped from there down to as low as 1,800, but then someone in early July came back and bought it for 2,500 for the near mint PSA 10 price. That was an interesting ad from Best Buy that took over my whole screen. That was crazy. It's a good ad. It was catchy. With that being said, hopping over to the Robin Hood here. Robin Hood is similar to the others. July 2nd, PSA 10, most recent sale, $1,800, up from $1,250 to $1,300, depending. To 2,500 Canadian. I'm not sure exactly what that translates to, but I would imagine somewhere in the same range of 1,200 to 1,500 for Robin Hood. Obviously, once again, the most recent, July 2nd, that same buyer most likely went through and did a sweep of all the lowest buy it nows. So they paid $7,000 for the Elsa, roughly $2,000 for the other cards, give or take. Some a little bit higher, some a little bit lower. There is only one sale, and this for the Cruella de Vil, so the last card in that set. I could only find one sale. There's more out there, but this 130 point wouldn't pull them in for whatever reason. But the data that we have here shows that 1,665 USD was the best offer accepted, and that was on June 6th. So that's what we have for that particular card. Now, the last D23 card is a little bit unique. This card is the Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor. So once again, this was not given in the box set. This was given at the event on the side. And the PSA 10 version of this card is going for just over $2,000. Most recent sale at 2,126. You see some back in May went for 3,125 euros, which is a significant price. That person definitely overpaid. One of the great things about eBay, though, is that you can sell to that international audience, and so you can get some bigger sales whenever you include all of Europe in the eBay market as well. But 2,000 roughly is the market price for this. Most recent sales 2,140, 2126 as recent as July 15th, so just a week and a half ago. And once again, it's important to note, guys, that these cards are these sales are just what's happening on these particular sites, most of them being eBay. When in reality, there's a lot of private sales going on. There's a lot of like Facebook marketplace sales going on. And there's also a lot of sales going on at like the events, the collecticons and things like that, maybe a D23 or Disney event. There's probably a lot of trades going on. And so there's definitely a lot more moving around than what you see here. This is just what we have access to and is transparent to us. So that's what we're using. So I'd say this is a good price point to start at if you are negotiating for any of these cards or looking to pick up some of these. This is just a good indicator of kind of where to maybe enter at, where to start the negotiations at, and ultimately a decent price point for them. If you think about it, you look at the $6,000 to $7,000 range for the Elsa. I would say on average you're looking at $2,000 to $2,500 for the remaining 5 cards. So if we said $2,000 for the remaining 5, that puts us at $10,000. $6,000 for the Elsa, that puts us at $16,000. Realistically, you're probably more at like $17,000 to $18,000 if you just include like the ones that are at $2,500. Maybe you got to spend $7,000 to get the Elsa. So you're looking at kind of like a $17,000 to $18,000 set in a PSA 10 for that person who went out to buy them all at the kind of the record high prices that they were setting at the time, early July. There is a seller on eBay who is selling them for essentially $22,000. You do get the Mickey with that, and you also get the Gen Con Mickey promo. Now this card is nowhere near the others. It's kind of just thrown in because it's a D23 card. But at the end of the day, at least 7 here are the true trophies. And this person's charging $2,200 for them. Obviously, you can't even make an offer on it, so they're not really looking to sell it. It's been viewed 28 times in the last 24 hours. There's a lot of people with eyes on these cards. And so if you were to go out and buy them all individually, you're probably more in like the $18,000 range. If you just want to pick them all up, then you could pay an additional $4,000 for whatever reason. Get the Gen Con Mickey thrown in there and buy it from Southern Thrift Store. So that is the case for the D23 cards. Once again, I'm not here to tell you whether they're a buy or sale. I would say long term that they're probably a decent buy right now. I don't see them going any lower or like significantly lower. They are absolutely the grail cards in Lorcana. At the end of the day, I would probably bite the bullet at some point and pick those cards up. But it's just interesting to see that people are willing to kind of continue to pay the same prices, even pay elevated prices when everything else in Lorcana is going significantly down in terms of the alt arts and enchanteds. We don't see those trends continue here as we look at the more expensive higher end cards. And I think because those are a little bit more patient buyers, they're not as starved of capital, I guess is the best way to put it. And they can ultimately, hold through these bear markets where prices are kind of going to the bottom. Everyone's undercutting each other. And basically they're just saying like, hey, we're holding firm, right? Holding steady. So that's kind of where we're at with the D23 cards. Now, when we look at the prize cards, so these cards is, once again, just in case you're new to my channel, I would strongly advise against buying any of these trophy cards. They are limited in quantity right now, but they will be expanding the supply. These cards are going to be given out at every challenge event that happens. There are lots happening, and so I would definitely advise not buying these cards. There was one Rapunzel that sold on eBay for the top 16 prize, and that was sold at $7,200 in a PSA 10 grade. So that's kind of the one sale we have thus far on eBay for that particular card. This card, I mean, look, long term, it's a gorgeous card, gorgeous art. First, these alt arts are very unique in terms of the challenge promos, and it's a badass card. It's just not one that I'm looking to buy yet because, like I said, there are going to be plenty more that hit the market. Eventually, it will absolutely be a buy. I think it'll be one of the biggest trophy cards in Lorcana, just not at the moment. With that being said, moving over to the Cinderella, we do have a foil PSA 10 that went for $2,000. So this, I believe, was the top, it says top prize, but I think this one was actually like the top 32 or maybe even top 64 prize card. So quite a few more of Lee's than the Rapunzel. $2,000 is the only sale there for the PSA 10 foil version. And then moving on to the Let It Go promo. So this is one that we had about 2,200, I think was the most recent sale. 10th of July, one sold for 2,200. Before that, a couple of days, we had one sell for 1,750 in a gem mint grade, 1,777 in a gem mint grade. You can see there are some raw going for 900. This card, I would imagine raw will probably end somewhere around like 500. If I had to guess, this is the top 164 or top 128 card. So there's going to be quite a few of them. Once again, every event, the top 128 people are getting this card. That's another, let's say 28 people hold on to it, right? That's another 100 hitting the market. There's going to be a lot of supply pressure here on this card for the next 4 to 5 months. I'm kind of targeting roughly, right, and this date may change, but I think December-ish will be a really good time to pick up these trophy cards as we move into the next cycle of Lorcana challenge events, and we get some sort of announcement if they are going to move away from these promo cards and move to next ones for the next challenge circuit, or what that looks like. We're just kind of ultimately waiting to see when are they done handing out these specific cards, because once that time comes, it will change, right? There will still be supply on the market. There's enough of them out in the market. They're going to be readily available, and we're going to see probably the lowest prices we'll ever see, to be completely honest, at that point. So that's kind of what I'm waiting on. But right now, for the Let It Go most recent sale, 2,200, which when you think about that and compare it to the Cinderella that sold for 2,000, this card's a lot more rare than the Let It Go. So kind of interesting to see that. Now, with that being said, I've been said on camera many times, this is my favorite card in Disney Lorcana. I think the card is just gorgeous. Obviously, it's got the Elsa. It just looks fantastic. And so definitely one that I'll be adding to my collection. And I think it warrants being a little bit more expensive, even though there's a few more of them out there. I looked for the gold Mickey Mouse. They didn't have any official sales on eBay yet. I don't know why it didn't pull in gold, and it might have just been bad searches on my end. But that is going to be it for today's video, guys. Just want to do a quick little video on the top most expensive cards in Lorcana. We will continue to track this as additional cards come out and maybe break out into this range, whether that be the next collector's box, which, full transparency, that's not going to happen. There's a lot more of these available, and it's not going to be near as rare as the first version, right? It was a very limited print quantity. Even if they limit the print quantity to the current demand, there's probably going to be 20 times the amount of cards that are on the market as the original D23 promos, which is about 900. Who knows how much the final number is. They're not going to be the same, but just thought it would be interesting to take a look at the most expensive cards in Lorcana, kind of get an idea of what they're going for, especially the PSA 10 D23 cards, as they are probably the most grail collector cards in Lorcana. If you can get a full set of PSA 10 D23 promos, you're one of like 300-ish people in the world that have those cards. And when you think about the long-term trajectory of Lorcana and things like that, I think that could bear to be very, very fruitful. So with that being said, that is going to be an end for today's video, guys, and we'll be back with another video soon. Bye.